We all have an internal equation for happiness. We tell ourselves that if we can just secure enough money, enough approval from the right people, or enough control over our circumstances, we'll finally feel content. The problem is that this kind of joy is incredibly fragile. The moment the applause stops, or an unexpected bill arrives, or someone criticizes us, that feeling evaporates. This creates an exhausting cycle. We can build a life that looks perfectly successful on paper, yet still wake up with a profound, lingering sense of emptiness that no amount of striving seems to fix. When our emotional baseline is tethered to things outside our control, we are simply riding a roller coaster of temporary relief. There is a deeper, unshakable alternative to that exhaustion. It is a quiet, holy strength, known as sacred delight. In his study, Experiencing the Heart of Jesus, author Max Lucado unpacks exactly what this looks like for the modern believer. He points us to a distinct promise Jesus makes in the Gospel of John. "These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may remain in you, and that your joy may be full." This brings us to Unit 5 of our curriculum. For the next 5 weeks, we are looking closely at how to actually step into that promise. Jesus provides a permanent foundation of joy that remains steady regardless of external pressures. Worldly happiness operates on a strict if-then contract. If life goes my way, then I will be happy. Sacred delight breaks that contract entirely. It does not depend on what is happening around us. It depends exclusively on who lives within us. The study text defines this clearly. Sacred delight is an inner exuberance coming directly from God. This means we serve a joyful God who possesses a deep gladness and actively invites us to live inside of it. Because this joy is sourced in the person of Jesus rather than a list of achievements, it remains intact even when our external desires go unmet. Accessing this joy requires a choice between two paths: the exhausting habit of spiritual performance or the quiet practice of abiding. We see this in the biblical account of Mary and Martha. Martha was working hard to serve, but her heart was frantic. Mary, however, simply sat quietly at his feet. It is entirely possible to exhaust yourself working for God while completely missing the joy of being with Him. Jesus praised Mary's choice. He invites us to abide, to intentionally stop our striving, sit in His presence, and let Him restore our souls before we try to pour out to others. Sacred delight grows organically in the quiet space where we give Jesus our undivided attention. This doesn't mean your life will suddenly be devoid of pain. Following Jesus does not magically erase grief, pressure, or disappointment. But there is a spiritual paradox at work here. A believer can have tears in their eyes and still possess an underlying, absolute peace that the world cannot understand. We see this in the book of Nehemiah, where the exiled Israelites are weeping as they hear the law, yet they are instructed to celebrate instead. They learn that the joy of the Lord is their actual strength. It is like a seed finding its way through a crack in the sidewalk. The environment is harsh, but the life inside the seed is stronger than the concrete trying to bury it. Sacred joy functions as a profound strength, empowering believers to endure and even grow through their most difficult experiences. As we move into tonight's group discussion, it is time to turn these concepts into a reality for your own walk. We are diving into week 21, looking at what happens when this sacred delight takes root in our daily routines. Take a moment to let go of the need to perform. Release whatever anxiety followed you in today, and stop demanding that temporary things satisfy your eternal soul. Make this your prayer tonight. Ask God to show you the joy that sits at the very heart of Jesus, and ask Him to make it your own. The presence of Jesus eternally sustains the soul, providing a depth of peace that outlasts the world's most convincing distractions.